Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
And I'm Scott Wakefield, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we talk about comic books and all kinds of great storytelling, sometimes with incredible guests. And we want you to join us Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
I don't play computer games, so it's going to be a rather uphill struggle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't play any computer games at all?
No.
Wow. Now, do you play board games? Have you ever played board games?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no computer games. All right, so we'll do board games later. You know, I had a thought. It's weird. I had a thought earlier. I'm like, I bet Pete doesn't play video games. I bet it's a British thing.
No, it's really not.
It's a Pete
just
thing?
Yeah.
Saving yourself a lot of time. Oh, it's a conflict.
Just skip me.
Oh no, I mean in terms of being productive in your day.
Oh.
No.
Well, I think that's basically it, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've had to limit mine. I did this several years ago because they can be addictive, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so I've had to very much say, because essentially Friday night is my game night now, and that's pretty much what I do. I play video games on Friday night. Depending on who and what and when. Yeah, Friday night's my game night though.
Sounds like lately it's been like once every month.
Yeah,
I've played.
once or twice a week, but like only for like an hour or two.
Yeah.
I can.
I'll play all day if I can.
Yeah. Well, I usually get tired of it anymore. I used to be able to do that, but now at an hour or two, I'm like, nah, I need to do other stuff. So I'm actually.
I can play God of War all day.
Yeah.
All right. So that volume is down. I'm going to turn one of these volumes back up to make sure that we've got volume, because we're at 30 seconds, y'all.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So why am I missing? I think I'm missing some stuff over there. Maybe it's because I have to go here first. All right. So
We're all so busy, huh?
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm gonna try to go. And hello, everyone. I think we're live. Someone verify that we are live.
Oh.
I'm turning the volume on YouTube to make sure. Okay, we're live. Very good. I'm so excited that we're live, and I am much better off this week than I was. Last week I was dog tired, so Curtis and gang, Curtis, thank you for stepping in and filling in. And I've heard nothing but fantastic things, so very, very good. And thank you, sir. And thanks everyone else. Yes, I am much better rested now. I was just flat wore out last week. The Kickstarter just flat wore me out, as these things have a tendency to do. But I'm much better rested now. So looking forward to a fun night. And we're just going to dive into the introductions. I am going to see if I can't do this. My son is not here tonight. Brett is usually the one behind the scenes. And he's usually the one pushing the buttons and turning the knobs and doing all that stuff. So that's going to be me tonight. So I'm going to try to do this. So if you get images that are popping up, I'm doing that, and I think that I know what I'm doing. So I'm not sure that if I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. But yeah, so let's see if I can get this. We have merch of the week, and it is sweet merch of the week, but it looks like it's not going to let me pop it up onto the video. So we'll have to probably save this for another time. It's a license plate thing, right? Which has Silverline Comics and Make Mine Silverline. Very, very sweet license plate thing. I can't show it to you because I can't figure out how to get it on the screen. That's something that Brett still needs to help me with. He's my tech guy for the streaming stuff, and he's going to have to help me. But we'll go ahead and cover introductions. I'm Roland. I'm the kind of the whoops, my wife just said I see too much nasty background there. So there, I fixed that. I'm the head honcho. It's actually on my business card. It says head honcho. And I'm the writer of Cat and Mouse and Trumps, and hopefully we'll see some Champ Fury that Pete's drawing, and a couple other things that just get me all giddy thinking about them, because when I see the images, I just get so excited because they're looking really, really good, and that excites me. And I forgot to put up the image for me. Okay, and so next is let's see. I think I learned last week I can rearrange these images.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that. So can you guys see it? Are you looking at them in the same way that I am? So you see me and Curtis and John and Aaron and Pete and Roberta and Mike. Right?
I see you. One of my me. So Roland, me, Curtis, and then John, Peter, Clinton.
Oddly, I see me but otherwise the same order.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Roland, me, and then
Yeah, I think you put your own picture is.
You can rearrange your own screen.
I guess your own one comes after the host. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I guess it's not important.
All right, Curtis, tell everybody who you are.
Sure, I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I also edit the Kayla series, and I'm an artist with comic books, animation, and video game experience. So that's me.
Sweet. And Curtis has his own comic that he's working on that hopefully we'll see more as it develops. Next up is John Martin. John, tell the people who you are.
My name is John Martin. I'm the inker for Friar Rush, and I've done work for Upper Deck and Dynamite as well. Real quick thing, just y'all are gonna know about this first. Some pages from Friar Rush will be going up for sale tomorrow.
Nice.
Some original ink pages from Friar Rush will be going up for sale tomorrow. So watch the Silverline page. I'll post it there first before I post it anywhere else.
Yes, that sounds good. I was gonna actually say that. Please make sure that the folks on the Silverline page and the Silverline group are the first to know if that's okay for you.
I have a feeling Eric Dotson's probably going to be sitting there like, is he going to put page 20 up? Is he going to put page 20 up?
All right. Next up is Aaron. Aaron, tell the people who you are.
My name's Aaron Humphreys. I'm the penciler on Friar Rush, and I am working on finishing my own comic book series, which you can find in Webtoons in my store. I think that's all linked below. But I write and draw my own stuff, and then I draw stuff for Silverline. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Very cool. Well, okay, next up then is Pete. Pete, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete, and I'm just a penciler on the book Champion of Miss Fury, which is coming from Silverline soon. I don't know.
Soon? Yeah.
Soon.
Pretty soon.
And I'll be drawing page 16 this evening. What else can I say?
You're across the pond, and it's really early.
It is rather early. The lighting's not great in here. You can't really see my page very well.
Yeah, the big lightning storm and big death eye image behind you.
Oh yes, and that as well. Yeah, really just gloomy rather than bright.
Avoid the lava at all costs.
Yeah,
Is that
me,
London? What?
No, is that?
Yeah.
For London can be kind of gloomy this time of year, but
Things got really bad really quick over here.
I've heard about the pea soup, but boy, that takes a cake.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Thank you. And next up is Roberta. Roberta, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Roberta Conroy. I'm a graphic designer and comic book colorist living in Los Angeles. I'm the new colorist for Cat and Mouse, so that's exciting. And we're working on that soon.
Yep.
Malibu Comic alumni, as some others are here. And anyway,
Yep.
that's it for me.
And also, the mentioned Cat and Mouse, but also the
news
project,
out yet?
Well, not officially. You want to officially announce it?
No, I would like you to actually.
Okay, all right. So, so Roberta has also agreed that she's going to color the Champion of Miss Fury miniseries that Peter is penciling and Thomas Formonti is inking. So, yeah,
very cool.
So excited about that. So
it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be lots of fun. So, lots of fun things happening. Last but not least, because I don't see Wubba here, so we got Mike. Mike, tell everybody who you are.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Belcher. I am a graphic designer by day and a comic guy by night. And I letter and do a little bit of graphic work for Silverline. And in addition to that, I write and draw my own comic, Man in the Mask, coming from AMK Comics.
And I thought I had an image of Man in the Mask here that I was going to pop up, but I clicked the button and nothing pops up. So I guess I don't have that. There you go. That's even better.
You gotta have one handy. Gotta have self-promotion.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go. By way of quick updates here. Let's see. We've still got the Kalis 2 that's outstanding, but I had lunch with Brent on Friday, and we decided that there were I think we had six art rewards that we did not have yet because the artwork from Lewis is literally still stuck in a post office in Argentina. Argentina was hit pretty rough by COVID, and literally, I mean, we could complain about a lot of stuff, mask and social distancing and blah 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 blah, but Argentina shut down, and so he submitted the package to the post office, and it has been there literally since March something. Okay, I've got a tracking. He gave me the routing number, and so I've got that, and it's supposed to, as soon as it enters American space, I don't know what that means, but as soon as it enters American space, I'm supposed to be notified so that I can chase that package down here. And Lewis is sending me updates about every 10 days to try to let me know that, I've reached out to the post office. They still not have. I mean, in some of our emails, we just imagine that in Argentina, what they did is they took a bunch of boxes that were international and just chunked them into a big room and just said, okay, well, when the plague is over, we'll send those out. And they're just all sitting there waiting to go. So we had those 6, and most of them, I want to say maybe all of the 6 were friends of Brent. So Brent is going to reach out to the 6 of you who don't have your packages yet, and see if you want him to go ahead and give you the books or wait on the artwork or that. We feel certain that we're going to get the art, just not certain as to when that might happen. So there's that. Twiligram, Fire Rush, that's done. Twiligram, Divinity, that one's done. Fire Rush and Bloodlines, that one's done too. Think there's still 2 things left to do on that one, and that's the extras. And it's the video sketchbook. It's the digital sketchbook, which I am going through my list, kind of checking it off. I have a feeling I'm missing something, and so I'm just trying to, because all of that stuff was kind of coming at me, and I have a feeling that I'm missing something. So I'm just trying to kind of reach out to the artist to make sure that I don't send that out without the appropriate artwork in it. So those are the only 2 things left for that. But all the physical rewards are done. All the comics are out. It's just the digital sketchbook and then the extras, which is the script and stuff like that. So and then for Cat and Mouse and Trumps, we're still waiting on the funds from Kickstarter. We anticipate those on Friday. They're generally, maybe not until Monday, business day. Kickstarter is generally pretty good about getting us stuff or getting the funds into the account 14 days pretty much, on the dot. So I expect to be sending files to Kablam to print on next Monday. That's not tomorrow, but that's next Monday. I had planned to send out surveys today, but I didn't get them finished. So the surveys will probably come out tomorrow. And if you can, try to get those filled out by Friday. The only thing I will need you to fill out the surveys in order for me to get your names from that, so that I can put it on a thank you page. And without that, I can't send obviously the Kickstarter book to print without the thank you page finished. But yeah, so that's update for all the Kickstarter stuff. Anybody else got an update or anything? Anyone want to try to share? Let me see if I can. I think I figured this out last week. Whoop! No, I don't want me. Where's? I think that's what we tried to do. Pin video. Oh, okay. I think that changed everything, didn't it? Somebody look. Zippy said London is improving. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So I think, let's see how I can do this. All right. So still lots of learning for me. Sounded like someone took a photograph.
I had a phone.
Oh, that was your little mechanical thing, huh?
Yeah, he has a mechanical eraser.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all right.
Oz.
Oh, that's a nice shot of Champion there with pouches upon pouches upon pouches, huh?
That's what it's going to be.
I love that. That's so cool. Awesome.
So Mike Belcher, how you feeling, man?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. Not too bad. Not too bad. We missed you, man.
Yeah. Well, sometimes things get in the way, and sometimes scheduling goes off.
It is the way it is, right? Just like
Then we just got to get Rebecca back.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Wubba's not here either today, so we don't have Wubba. Let's see. Wubba. I'm looking at my list here.
And Barb.
Wubba and Barb. Now Barb's
gonna be tied up for a little bit.
Barb's gonna be tied up for a little bit, so she's got family stuff. She's still in contact. Matter of fact, I was swapping messages with her just before we started the stream. It's just she's not in a position right now that she can actually stream with us, so she's tied up with some family stuff. So yeah, I think who else? It's just Wubba and Barb and Chuck, I guess.
Becca and Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully schedules will. Now I know Chuck has a weird work schedule too, so he has to work a lot. And I think his work schedules. I think the times he's joined us, if you'll notice, he's kind of popped on and popped off. From my understanding, now don't hold me to this. From my understanding, is that this has been on his lunch hour, so he'd take his lunch hour and join us on our stream. So, all right. So today's topic is our favorite video games. So I know I told you guys before we went live that the Wednesday crew begged me for a part 2 of this. So we're gonna do a part 2. As well, right? So we can kind of keep our streams lined up.
Don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams. There you go.
And so they'll be talking about their part 2 this Wednesday, and then of course we'll follow up next Wednesday. So I figured what I'll do is I'll try to take a step at a time, and we'll kind of see how it goes. We'll see kind of where it follows, where our conversation takes us. So I think the first thing I'll toss out is, what's the first video game you remember? And then what's the first video game you remember playing? Because those could be two different things, right? You're like, oh, I remember this video game, but I actually remember playing this one.
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
Because
Can I throw one out there?
Go.
Yeah.
My earliest memory of a video game is on my Apple when in the 80s. And it was this maze type game called Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh, man.
I remember that.
Holy crap. I remember that. Yeah.
That's a good one.
It was a
Yes, it
modem
was.
dial-up, I remember. After that, you could chat. Right after that. So funny.
I remember playing Pitfall, and I remember playing Pong.
Okay,
Pong. Wow.
I don't feel so
Right.
bad now. I was sitting here thinking I really don't want to answer this question.
I think Pong was the first
You
one
look
I've
old.
seen,
I took it home.
and I played Pitfall on the Atari before I played Pong, but I remember seeing Pong first. So
Mhm.
yeah, because I've owned pretty much every gaming system that's ever been made. I think.
I think mine was like an old
Okay.
IBM.
Zippy said, "I still haven't beat Pong. Getting close though."
Get close.
And Tommy says, "Hello, gang."
Oh,
Hey, Tommy.
Tommy. Yeah.
I think mine was some space game, and like it was an IBM home computer my dad got. I didn't even know the name of the game. I know you were flying, you were in a cockpit of some spaceship. I remember it was pretty much all like the old DOS. It was like white with like a gray background.
Mhm.
I don't even remember what it was, but I remember that thing was cool.
The gray background, or was it that sort of that green background?
Green, like the greenish gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that one.
Yeah.
I do know.
I remember I never beat Oregon Trail.
I don't think anyone ever did.
Yeah.
You died of dysentery.
I think that was the ending.
I remember 2 games from the Chuck E. Cheese days, formerly known as Showbiz Pizza, which is where all the kids went.
I didn't know Showbiz was
before
yeah,
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, I didn't know
It's
that.
a precursor.
I did not know that.
It was Chuck E. Cheese Origins, and they had these 2 games. I remember one that most of you know was called Karate Champ, where there was a guy in a white karate gi and a guy in a red karate gi.
Yeah.
That one was fun. And then the other one, they had this series of faith-based video games where there's a boy and a girl, and you had to do things from the Bible. And I remember they had one where you had to collect all the animals so Noah could get the ark going. So very,
two of every kind, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember
Exactly.
the noise. I even remember the sound effects from that freaking karate championship
Oh, that's
game.
so cool. Yeah.
So realistic.
And then when the guy would get hit and he'd fall, it was just like one frame, it's like bam, he would just drop. Yeah, but that Karate Champ game is awesome. I love that game.
Mike, what video games they have in Kentucky?
We had anything anybody else had. I don't expect anything different. But,
Mike's like, Roland, we're gonna throw down, man.
I lived in an arcade in the early '80s.
Oh man,
Wasted a lot of tokens and quarters.
Yeah.
And, you gotta love that kind of stuff. But I had a Atari, the whole 9 yards, and gaming's pretty much been concurrent ever since. So we had it just like everybody else.
Yeah, although they had a machine, they had to sit there and go pump the electricity in, right? I think
Mississippi.
I think for me the first one I remember was Intellivision's Pong. And I played it because a friend of mine had it. So, and of course we were like, it was Captain
Pong or the little the rotating controller.
It was the rotating controller, where you rotate up and down, right? And I remember we played that thing for hours. And you thinking back on it now, I'm like, how did we play that game for so long when it's just a little stick going boop, boop, boop?
Right? It's because it moved that slow. That's how.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why, because
no. See, there was also a trick though, because you could spin that little wheel, and if you hit the ball at the same, the thing at the right time, you'd flip it and it'd spin kind of like a tennis ball. And
did it really? I don't remember playing. I played some Pong or whatever. The game that I played the most, I was probably like that was Combat for Atari. Does anybody remember that? You play like tanks and helicopters. Invisible, whatever. That was kind of my version of Pong. That idea of like trying to kill each other but shooting, bullets all over the screen. Yeah.
You guys remember that old Star Wars game?
Which one?
Star Wars game that was like vector based. It was just
Oh yeah.
And I remember as a kid, there was a part where Obi-Wan comes in and says, "Let go," and I literally, as a kid, was like, "Let go of the controller." Didn't work so good, Subtext is everything. So.
Yeah.
That came on that big that big floppy disk, didn't it? That 5x5 or whatever it was, 3x5.
Yeah, and the arcade one had like the actual controller.
The arcade, the actual
game. So cool.
Now, when I was in high school,
the fun was the arcade machines. As a matter of fact, I remember they brought that game home like throw it on, play it at home. It's like, yeah, it's just not the same without the big machine. You want to sit down with the controller and it's funny. They have arcades around Portland still, and they so I'm seeing some new stuff, and they had one that was kind of like that one, but with Star Wars, more high tech. But you sit in this bubble. I mean, once I went in, I'm like, well, I got to play this thing, and you sit in this bubble and close the door, so you're completely enclosed, and you play like either an indoor or like the Death Star. There's like a few levels where you can do it, and but they actually have like wind blowing on you. So not only the sound effects, but there's like wind blowing on you, so like this completely. Yeah. It was weird. That was a really fun game. I mean, I always die, but it was fun.
They got a Mech Warriors one now like that, where you get in something similar to that, and it's like you're playing like Mech Wars.
Brett, Curtis, did you go with us to the BattleTech?
Yeah, well, they had a BattleTech simulator, like way back in the day, in the 90s, and it was like
there was a group of us. Party. Yeah, and we went and played because we had the license to do the comic book, which of course Tim Elder did the artwork and I did the story for it, and we went up to one of their things and got in these machines, got in these booths. Essentially, you sat down and it's kind of like a photo booth, and they closed the door, and then you had screens all the way around you. Right, and you literally you drove the mech, right, and it was like a LAN, and so it was like I think there were 16 totals, and so there was like 8 versus 8. So much, I was so bad, but it was so much fun. The dude, I still remember one of the guys who worked there was playing. And he was in a mech. Literally, I'm moving this because you could control. One of the things you could do, you could move in this direction, and you could turn your mech sideways. So you're still moving this way, but you're facing this way to shoot. Yeah. Right? I remember I'm going forward, and there's this guy just running circles around me as I'm moving forward. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, they don't have that. I mean, I think the closest I've gotten to now, as far as that arcade, is I have a virtual reality unit for my PlayStation. So that kind of gives it to me. But still, there's nothing like sitting in those old crazy arcade cabinets and weird. You see some of the.
I'm sure there's a Gundam simulator somewhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably have to go to Japan to get all the good stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking.
There's a place here in LA in Santa Monica that does all these cool VR things, and they have cool licenses. So they have a new Star Wars one, and it's like intense. You're basically playing stormtroopers. So the guys that are undercover stormtroopers that are going to go in and infiltrate the Death Star. And so I'm playing it with my girlfriend, my wife, actually, I say, my wife now.
Yeah.
We're going through it, and there's a part where they actually give you these guns. You have guns with triggers, and it maps it into the virtual reality. You have a chest guard, so when you get hit, you feel the vibration. And so we're in this console, and we're in like this vessel, and we get into the base. We're supposed to be all incognito, everything's going good. And we're in this control room, and we're supposed to keep it quiet while literally everything's mapped to actual things. Like there's actually a wall you can touch, and then the VR, it's the actual wall of the building.
Yeah.
And so we're in there, and I go, gosh, this is so real. And I have a gun in my hand. I said, I wonder if they allow you to shoot the trigger yet. And well, so I pull the trigger, the laser ricochets through the control room, and the whole mission goes to pot, and everybody starts storming in, and we're attacking all this stuff. And afterwards, my wife goes, did you do that? I said, well, I figured they wouldn't let us shoot the trigger yet. She goes, you almost ruined the mission. So then we go back again a second time, and this is not cheap. And I go, okay, this time I'm not going to screw up. I want to see how the story plays out if I don't pull the trigger. So we get to the exact same point, and I go, okay, I better not touch the trigger. Let me just make sure I can feel where it is just in, and I fire it off again. The whole mission.
Remember safety.
You've been yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I want to see him on like an actual like SEALs team or whatever. Is my gun on safety? Let's off a few rounds.
Bang. Oh no. This is a covert mission.
I know.
Zippy says, that wasn't wind. That was the game overheating.
Yeah. Oh, man. We actually did. There was a VR game called Farpoint where you're like some astronaut on a planet shooting bugs. And there's this controller that PlayStation has. It's like the aim. So it looks like a weird gun. But when you inside the VR, it looks like an actual gun. So, of course, my friend's like, well, can you kill yourself? I don't know. So I shoot myself in the head and my body just falls in front of me. And I was like, apparently you can. So yes, you can.
Oh, that's so funny.
But of course, that's what your friends always want to think. Do you want to win? No, kill yourself. That's what your friends always want you to do.
Let's see if you can shoot yourself.
As Peter's over there snickering in the background.
I remember playing Duke Nukem. Do you know play Duke Nukem?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Duke Nukem.
That's about all I can think of. And Star Wars Battlefront. That's two games that come to mind when I was younger. But the rest of it, you've lost me, I'm afraid.
I remember in high school, I used to work at a bait shop, and I said bait as in like fishing tackle and bait and stuff like that. And so when I was like a junior and senior, and so I'd have to be there for like 4 a.m. On Saturday morning. Sometimes I'd work Friday afternoons, but usually it was just Saturday and Sunday. And so I would work 4 to 12. And the guy, I didn't know it at the time. The guy was paying me under the table because he was paying me all in cash. I just thought, oh, cool. Guy's paying me in cash. I got cash to spend, right? I didn't realize it at the time. But so, he'd give me cash at the end of the day, and I would drive because I had to go across a big spillway, a reservoir. And so I'd drive back across the dam, and there was a 7-Eleven there. And I would sometimes buy comic books there. But I would also get $1 worth of quarters, a Coke, and a Snicker bar, and I'd play Asteroids until and I would just sit there. I would play that until my quarters ran out, and of course the longer I played, the longer my quarters lasted. And I remember I was so addicted. Every single Saturday I was there.
They had I know there was a doctor's office waiting room when I was a kid but it was a tabletop Asteroids, so you can put your drinks on. Those are cool. That was one of I've seen a few others, but I remember we'd always, and it was like snuck back in like this where the drink vending machines were, and so every time we go to the doctor, we'd go run back and play that. Good way to get kids to sit still, not worry about what's happening with the doctor.
We used to
play my mother ran a restaurant, and it had tabletop Galactica.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'd play that for hours upon hours. I had many of the high scores.
Yeah.
You had all the high scores.
Well, back then in the arcades, that was the thing. You wanted to get your 3 initials in the arcade games.
Yeah.
And you'd walk around looking at the high scores to see who was playing them. John's been here. Look, he's got the number 2 spot. Let's see if we can beat him.
Yeah, they got to the point where they were starting to reset them like every week after I'd been in there.
Really?
Yeah, because it would take I remember going to the Nick arcade with my friends when I was a kid, and you'd spend all day in there and walk out in that sunlight, be God's spotlight. It just look how like your eyes are adjusting or whatever. Oh man. But the Nick arcades are the only way you can I'm going to try to actually beat games, finish them. And that was the only way to do it back then. And but you just get a big bag of nickels and go for it. So
I don't remember nickel arcades.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
right. No, that just may be where you were at.
Oh, maybe that was it was called Wonderland. Yeah, it was all these games that took nickels, so we'd go in and just a few dollars, and they had ones that took certain nickels, but then have certain rooms that games were free to play, and you would just go back there. You had to pay, I think, an entrance fee to get in or whatever. I thought these were universal. Maybe that was just a
no.
Yeah,
wow.
I wish there was something like that here in Memphis. I wouldn't have left it.
Yeah, it was in Northern California too. Yeah, that's in Northern California. It was like the second run games, like really old games. They would put on a nickel arcade.
Oh, interesting.
When I went to Japan, because I worked in games for almost 10 years. I got to go to the Japanese arcades, and that was crazy to see the game culture in Tokyo, right? Yeah. And I'll never forget, and I'll try and word this so you know what I'm saying, but we don't get kicked off YouTube. I was with my host who's Japanese, and we're going through, and he's taking me around the town while we're working on this video game, and he goes, "Okay, I see this one, the first video game I see in Akihabara, which is like the electric town, right? Is what it's known as.
Yeah.
And it's just all these crazy looking video games, just so you can kind of see from that side. So I start to run in there. He goes, "Curtis, don't go in there." And I go, "No." And he goes, I said, "No, I'm in Tokyo. I want to go to this game shop." And I started running, grabbing by his shoulder. I pushed him aside. I ran in there. I got in and I'm looking at all the games on the wall. And I go, "Look at that game. It's a guy and a girl doing yada, yada, yada. And look at that game over there. It's 2 girls and a guy doing it. Hey, wait a second. What type of game shop is this?" And you can... And so there's a picture somewhere, I wish I could find it, of me. I said, "Dude, you got to get my picture in front of me in the middle of Tokyo." And there's these old Japanese ladies in kimonos walking by this dirty video game shop, and me posing doing one of these things. And that was one of my culture.
She's walking, shaking her head, and she's walking by.
Well, it's funny because I've seen pictures a lot of times in Japan, like the arcades, like they have seats. People will sit down. So a lot of the arcade cabinets are made lower so people can sit and play them.
Yeah, I think it's also like tied to the pachinko culture too. It's like they just been hanging out there for a long time.
Yeah. The pachinko stuff is huge over there. And it's funny. I remember when I first heard that. I mean, like, you mean the game on The Price is Right? Because that's what I'd always see the pachinko game. The life-size one. I'm like, oh. And, but yeah, it was, they get really serious in Japan. And they still have a lot of arcades there, I think. I think the culture's still relatively still alive.
Jump in, Mike.
So.
Yeah.
Jump in where?
I thought I saw you like twice. Like.
Yeah.
Well, that's me adjusting. Going.
Oh. So I got a couple comments here. Hyper Potato said, "Just got here. Does Zippy get rolling to do cocaine? What? To do cocaine? What? Yeah, I'm not sure that one was.
Talk about coming out of left field.
Zippy says they had a Nickel Wonderland in Arizona too.
Yeah.
Kasisi says hi. Oh, hey, Kasisi.
Hey.
Boy.
Tommy says stand up, computer, console, or handheld. What do y'all like better?
Wow, he's a real gamer to ask that kind of
stuff.
That says a lot about Tom.
So here's what I'll tell you about. I'll tell you about. Oh, wait a minute. So Zippy says his top comment was, John Martin looks like the 1980s Alan Moore. Okay, yeah. So did he get me to do cocaine? All right. So here's what I can tell you about Tommy. So I know Tommy. I know Tommy plays games. And I know that Tommy suffers from game addiction because we've talked about it, and we'll get there. I'm sure eventually, but I've invited, and I've already talked about my Friday night game nights. I've invited Tommy to join us several times, and his answer has always been no, because if I join you, it won't just be Friday night. I said, oh no, we only play Friday nights. He goes, no, I get it. Y'all only play Friday nights. He goes, but I'll get addicted and I'll play Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. And he said, you only play games or eat comics? I said, you're uninvited to come join us, Tommy.
Well, he seems straightforward.
Yeah. No, it works, right? So what about it? What do you guys like better? Stand up, computer, console, handheld?
I'm a console guy. I tried the computer one, yeah, and I guess I'm more of a simple. I know all my friends are like, "Well, I can play that better on the computer." I'm like, "I'm sure you're good, but I just like the power button. Like hit button, game turns on, great. Don't need to make it look pretty. Don't like look how pretty the rose petals are on that rose. Now that takes horsepower. I'm like, don't care, just want to play."
Well, for me, it's about input.
So what's your
and
favorite?
I have to say, PC has the better input.
Yeah. No, I mean, how long has the console PC war been raging? Since the 80s?
Oh, for a long time.
But because they got cross platforms now, and it's been proven that if you're playing on a console like Fortnite or Call of Duty, and you end up playing somebody on PC, you're going to lose most of the time if they are halfway decent, because everything from a PC responds faster than what it's coming from a console.
Yeah.
Sports car. Yeah.
Okay, Zippy. Zippy clarified his cocaine statement. So apparently, I'm looking at my feed here on the restream, and Zippy says his first comment was, "Sounds like Roland needs a Red Bull or cocaine."
Got it.
And I don't see that one on my restream feed, so I'd have to go back and look on the original feed. So probably my restream didn't kick in until after that comment, because my top comment is the. From Zippy says John Martin looks like the 1980s Alan Moore. So that's what the comment was about. And he said, when I said that I was worn out. Okay. That makes total sense.
So Roland needs about 5 or 6 bangers. Is that what you're saying?
Wait, Pete's like bangers. Wait a minute now. In England, we call bangers. What is it's like potatoes, isn't it? Bangers
Bangers are sausage here. Bangers
sausages. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Lately, I found out bangers here Bangers here is lately the slang term for freaking like energy drinks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are we still streaming on YouTube? I tried really hard to tell my story, guys, and a lot of euphemisms going around this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still on YouTube.
And thanks for the arcade story, Curtis. You started something.
Yeah, Bangers and Mash. Yeah. Hyper Potato says he's writing a story about cocaine. Roland and Lou Ferrigno now. Yeah.
That Bangles was the name of that arcade you went to in Japan, Curtis. Was that? Okay, so I'm gonna stop.
And we're no longer on YouTube now.
Everybody's saying Bangers and Mash.
I corrupted the Japanese office over there, so we were hanging out, and they would teach me a couple words in Japanese, and I would teach them English. And so we're talking about. So I taught them the word "this sucks." So they learned about "this sucks," and at the end of my trip, the head of the Japanese company took us to dinner. So we had like sumo stew. It's called chonko nabe, and he would call me out, and he would call the Japanese people out, and he wants to communicate, see what we learn from each other.
Oh.
He would say Fujita-san, and I'd say hi, and then he'd go Miyazaki-san, hi, and he'd go communication, and we'd have to communicate between our two languages. And so this one guy was sent, he goes Fujita-san, and I said hi. He goes Sega sucks, and I said hi Miyazaki-san, and he goes consumer of Sega sucks, and I said yes, and he goes, and because we were working for PlayStation, and he goes Sega blows, and I said yes Miyazaki-san. and that was my contribution to the Japanese game culture. So yes, there was some stuff going on over there.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Sounds like you ruined them for life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man.
So who else? So we got consoles.
You got
John said computer. About
like
Roberto and Mike.
I like consoles the best.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the controls, you know.
Yeah.
You like to feel it. And I don't know, I get bored of the keyboard after a while. Like,
Do you think that
they actually have like things you can plug into? The
Yeah,
PCs
you can.
now. That
Well,
are
you can
like
plug in
controllers.
Yeah, you can plug a game controller into a PC now. So do you think you get bored of the keyboard because that's where you do most of your work as well?
That could be it too, but I think that when you're trying to decide what button to push, the kinds of shapes that they made, on the controller make more sense for moving and looking around. Just touching it.
Yeah. See, I'm more of a computer gamer too, and I think for me, I think it's because you have a greater. Your controller, you can only do so many things. You only got so many buttons, but your computer, I've got, at least 30 something buttons that I can push for different controls. And you don't have that.
Like 18 hot keys and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can configure them. I'm guessing you probably could on a console as well, but you can configure them to do what it is that you want to do. You can control sensitivity to your mouse in most games. If you want it to move quickly or slowly. I think for me, the other reason that I prefer the computer games is because of the kind of games that come on the computers. Is that I'm not really a shoot 'em up kind of. I'm not really shoot 'em up kind of, first person shooter. Eric Amundsen Roland, you play computer games? Yeah. So Eric Amundsen, some of you may remember, is my former roommate from one of my former roommates from Southern Mississippi. And Eric will often join us on Friday night games. Although I hadn't been playing, because we've been playing a superhero game here recently, and Eric hasn't been joining us much. But so yeah, Eric and I've spent many hours playing games. But usually the things that we do on the consoles are more strategy games. We played a lot of Sid Meier's Civilization, Age of Empires, things like that.
Yeah.
I have played a console. We have an old Xbox. What's the one? 360?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got
that's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the 360. We've got a Wii, and we have a PlayStation 2, which is really old, and I'm not sure it even.
You're gonna need to upgrade that last one. You'll love playing God of War on PlayStation 4.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I still have a PlayStation 3, unfortunately, but I love it.
Yeah.
I still have a PlayStation 2, 3, and 4. So I just keep them. And I have my Dreamcast. And I have my GameCube set off to the side.
So here's a question. So if you've got the latest version of the PlayStation, why do you hold on to the old one?
Because
I actually like to go back and play the old games, and they're not backwards compatible.
Yep.
So they're not really.
Yeah.
Five
so
would be
I
the
just
first one that's backwards compatible.
Yeah. So I just keep them because this I like a game called Beautiful Joe. That was a GameCube. So there's some stuff on PlayStation 2 RPGs, just stuff that I like. So I don't get rid. I just keep them. So yeah, I have drawers of. I have a ton of stuff at PlayStation 3. I still go back every once in a while and play because I play series. So I play Resident Evil series, Metal Gear Solid, which is all older stuff. So yeah, I just keep them, and they still work. You kind of have to, like crank the little handle and get them going, but then they'll pick up. And I do have a Dreamcast still, which it still works. It's loud, but it still works, and I have stuff for that too. So yeah.
Yeah, I've still got I've still got the original NES.
Yeah.
I've got the PlayStation 1. I used to have an Xbox, but it was stolen. I've got Wii. I've got an N64.
Yeah. Those are fun. Yeah. The game series, I'm usually just a hack and slash guy, so the game series or game genre that I hunt down are the Dark Souls type games. So I play all
you guys want to do some coloring, by the way? Because I just realized I'm not sharing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I'm just coloring. I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, we haven't heard from Mike. Are you a console guy, or what's your poison?
Always console. PCs for work.
Yeah.
I'm always a console guy. I've had a console as long as I've been in the game, so I think it's just as easy. I mean, you just pick up a controller, slide in the disc, and there you go. So I mean, I never cared for the keyboard, never cared for the mouse. I just I'm a simple creature. I like the machine. That's exactly what I need it for, and when it goes on, I'm playing, and when it's off, I go off to something else. But yeah, I prefer consoles.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You got me singing the Leonard Skinner song now.
I grew up playing.
I
grew up playing Warcraft, like the original, like strategy Warcraft.
Yeah.
And StarCraft and Diablo.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I just got used to the PC.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ron kind of hit on that. I mean, there's a lot of cross pollination, but it kind of favors the type of games that you like.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, a lot of strat games and stuff for all of them obviously work better. They've tried adapting the consoles, but you just need more keyboard input for like strat games and stuff. But like a lot of the hack and slash, like Dark Souls and stuff, you can play them on PC, but they work better with the controller.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll tell you. Let me read a couple comments here. I'll tell you though, for me, because I do play console games. About roommates, Eric says I was one of 12 or so. I'm not the roommate that disappeared. If y'all remember me talking about all the roommates, he said, "Yeah, we need to play some more." I'm game, Eric. Zippy says I still have my 2600. He has two of them and his original NES, and he probably has about 50 games for them.
Wow.
Me too.
Oh, I still got a Sega. I forgot to say that. Crap, I still got a Sega Genesis.
So my first game console. Roberta actually kind of touched on it. It was my Mac. I'm sorry, I had a Commodore. No. I had a Commodore 64.
Oh yes,
and I bought games. Of course, my parents bought me the computer on my way to college so that I could have a computer in college. That was for me to write and do my term papers and stuff like that. Well, I bought games and we sat in the dorm room and played games. But the earliest ones I can remember on that, we had, I had one that, and we're not trying to get political here, but it was, you ran for president. You basically ran a presidential campaign. Yeah. And so all of us in the hall, we all ran for president. You had to determine what issues were important to you, and you invested your money into it. You went to all the states, and it was a lot of fun. And then we had, I had both football and baseball. and we had you could actually have seasons. And so, like I said, there was, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 of us in the hall, something like that. And so, we put together a league, and we ran seasons for the football games and baseball games. And it wasn't the kind of thing that you controlled the players. You chose to play, right? And then just sat back and watched the computer act it out, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, I'm going to pick my play, turn your head. Okay. Because it was all on the screen, right?
Right.
And of course it was all on the screen on my TV, which was probably not as big as my laptop screen here. That was my first games was on my Commodore 64.
Used to remember there was a game called Zork. Zork was like way further back where it was just text only. There was not even images.
Yeah.
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 It's like really old, right?
Yeah. That was like when you're in game programming, that's like one of the first things they teach you to do now is program. It's just all most of it, I shouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it's just in BASIC. You program in BASIC, a lot of if-then statements. Here's the text. If they answer this, then this. If this, then this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I used to. I think in the dorms we used to have Mario Kart tournaments, and I got pretty. We had a dry race sports where we'd always write who would be the current champion. I stayed up there a lot. I always played Toad, and I got really good with him. In fact, I'd get really pissy if somebody new came in and picked Toad. I'm like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, but yeah, I remember that. And then we had a few other guys. I remember I upstage just. I feel bad for him. This guy, Chuck, I came into his room one time. It was after, home from class. And I was like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, I'm trying to beat this game called Strider. I think probably a lot of you guys probably know Strider. And he was trying to beat the original Strider. And he kept me, he's like, I've been trying to beat this boss for like years. And he's like, I never can do it. I'm like, oh, this guy's really easy. I can beat him. And he's like, no, you can't. I'm like, look, I'll show you how to beat him really quickly right now. And he's like, okay. And I went through and just went up and just basically killed him with in a few hits. The look on his face afterwards, oh my God, it was like I just killed his parents. He's like, you just did what? And I'm like, look, it's really easy. But it was just, I think I was banned from his room for a few days. That was I didn't mean to show him, but he was just awestruck because he'd been at it for years trying to finish that.
I think Sega had some of the hardest games that like to this day people still have issues beating. Like I think there's one on Lion King's is hard as heck to beat. Comic Zone, which I have, is hard. It is difficult.
We at Malibu we had a comic book adaptation of that. Never followed through, but I was coloring that. But yeah, Comic Zone, I remember that.
Yeah. You remember we had a couple of arcade games actually.
I remember. I love that. I remember on that to the left paddle stopped working when there was a button or something that stopped working.
I remember Roland had to discipline us because we got the Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition from Capcom. And they put in the break room. And Roland, you figure most of the people at Malibu were very similar in age. I would say, I was on the, I was in high school, but everybody else was, I would say, within a 5-7 year window. And Roland had to be like
around that arcade.
Oh, and sometimes people were playing when they should have been working, and Roland had to be Big Papa and come on in and lay down the law and talk to people.
You got folks doling out money, like $50 I win.
Yeah. But I still remember that Roland came over. Hey guys, you guys gotta work. You can't play Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's when they. I don't know if you remember that, but they put the before Jim was there, Jim Chadwick. They put the art department under me, and it was under me briefly. And then what happened is when Jim came along, then Jim took everybody but the letterers, and then I scheduled all the lettering work. While Jim took over all the other art department corrections and stuff. But yeah, for a short while, the whole art department answered to me, and I'm like, how did I get that?
And for the people listening, I'm just he's talking about Jim Chadwick. Is he the art director at DC currently? I believe is that his.
You know what? I think he's in just an editor. I say just an editor. I think he was an editor. Yeah. Yeah. At one point in time, and this goes back a couple of years ago, at one point in time, he was the editor of the special collections.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he had been Batman editor for just a little while, and then when I went out there and had lunch with he and Hank, he was the special collections editor. So
Yeah. I used to play. There was an artist. He worked. Named Damian Scott. I think he worked on Batgirl when it first came out.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff like yeah. I was roommates with him in the Cuber school, and he'd always play me in Street Fighter, and he was like a master at it. And I beat him once, and he one round, not even the 2 rounds, just the 1 round. And the look, and again, it was like, and no matter how many times he beat me afterwards, I'm like, yeah, but I beat you once. So it was like he can never live it down.
You know, Tommy's question has to be kind of thinking. No one really mentioned handheld games on here at all, and I'm wondering. I'm not calling any of you old or anything like that. I'm wondering though if that's more of an age thing, because
I almost think so. Because even when
I
the
had a
original Game
PSP.
Boy came out, it was fun, but I was still like, to me, games were sitting with your friends in front of a TV and playing.
Yeah,
And,
the only handheld game I ever really got into was Dante's Inferno on the PSP.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got into I actually would buy a lot of handhelds because I would take for a lot of times for work, for lunches, and then I ended up taking the Max, which is our light rail system in Portland. And so I would buy handhelds to play on the Max and stuff like that. But if I'm like didn't have a real need for it, because I actually have like a DS, I think, and I got them just for these. I like Castlevania, and they made like a lot of Castlevania games just for handheld, so I got it for that. But I haven't bought anything for it. I mean, it still works. I just keep it there for the Castlevania. It's just not worth much of anything. But yeah, some never huge. But there are people who just do. I know in Japan, like handhelds are incredibly huge because of the commuting and stuff.
Yeah, I use handhelds. Like I have a PS Vita, but the cool thing that I think is really now is remote play. I don't know if you folks ever use that, but
Yeah.
PlayStation has that, and that's really cool where you can stream your device onto like your phone, and if you have a controller, you can input it, so you can play like a PlayStation 4 quality game on your cell phone.
Yeah.
wow.
But I think cell phone is really taking over the handheld market. now.
I was going to say, I you know, Brett plays a lot of games, and he used to play a lot of the handheld games. It still has a bunch of them, but I see him all the time now just on his phone. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I think, because I see him over there with his doing his thumbs, I'm like, who are you texting now? And he goes, I'm playing a game. Like, leave me alone. I'm busy, right?
Yeah.
Y'all remember those little tiger games?
Oh yeah, with like the prefixing.
Yeah.
So we just got our first two. We just got our first 2 mods. Hyper Potato and Zippy the Unicorn are both mods for our YouTube channel. And Hyper Potato said, "I've never been a mod before. Buy Silverline Comics." And Zippy said, "Let the bannings commence."
That's priceless.
Take that, Lou Ferrigno. Yeah.
They
I was gonna say about cell phone games. My wife doesn't play anything but cell phone games mainly, right?
Really?
And she'll play like these Harry Potter games from it's the company that Chris Ulm works for now. But she'll play these games and she'll fall asleep. And sometimes she'll fall asleep and she'll like bonk herself on the head with her cell phone. So like a year or so ago, she wanted to upgrade her phone, and I kid you not, we go to the Apple store. And I'm on the far end, and she's way in the corner looking at phones. And I see her do this. She's looking around. She picks up the phone. And she doesn't think anybody's looking. She goes like this. And it's testing how hard it's going to be if it hits her in the
Dustin Wallace says, "What up, boys? What up,
Boy.
what up, Dustin?" Yeah, we got Roberta here too, Dustin. So,
Oh,
Hi there.
oh my god.
yeah.
That's pretty good. I like the testing. I never got into playing games on cell phones. I usually like it was like Curtis, like I would buy a Vita or something.
Well,
But so many people do. I don't know why I never did. I mean, there's lots of fun stuff. I guess never dawned on me. Especially, I guess now this day and age. Most of the time, if I have to go to the doctor or something, I'll bring a comic book to read.
yeah. Well, and the thing too, though, we're talking about cell phones, and Curtis is talking about cell phones taking over,
Yeah.
which I do think is the case. But you look at cell phones today. Cell phones are more powerful today than probably my first 6 computers combined.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So you know, there's so much computing power there that it's easy for them to put a pretty good game on. I remember one of the first handheld games I remember, or phone games I should say, that I remember seeing a lot of people play, and this was probably 10 years ago, was that running game where you looked at the screen and you had to run and get up all the dots, and you could kind of turn it, make him turn. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the game, but Brett used to play it a lot. Y'all remember what I'm talking about?
They had several different versions of it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was back when they don't do a lot of motion controls. I mean, I remember
I think the last one was Mario Run.
Yeah. They're running that stuff. Yeah. I saw, it's funny, I'm watching Roberta Keller. I think she missed, you missed something that I saw. I don't think you realized as you go up to the second panel.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah,
steering wheel?
I'm doing it
Yeah.
so quick.
If you look right underneath his hand on the steering wheel, it would be to your left.
Can you laugh at the handheld car phone?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, huh?
Well, no, I'm saying
that's
you missed
dated, isn't it?
There's
I missed the what?
the little steering wheel. So you look, if you follow his hand, and go past his
Oh
hand.
yeah. That didn't get flatted right. No big
Oh
deal.
yeah, that's what I thought. I was looking. I was like, when is she gonna get it? So
No, when I color it, I'll get it fixed.
yeah, there you go. Ta-da.
Sometimes I just forget. There you go.
Woot woot.
Yeah, the phone is aging the comic a little, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I just thought that was funny because I'm like, wait a minute. Does anyone remember that?
You know, one of the very first car phones I ever remember seeing was Scott Rosenberg.
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Do you have one?
Yeah,
That's
Scott.
cool.
Yeah. Scott Rosenberg had a car phone, and there for a while, I seem to remember he had a driver, didn't he? Because
That sounds right.
yeah, he had a driver, and then what would happen is that they would just drive him, and he'd just get on his phone and start doing business. And and of course I said something to Chris Alm about it once. I said, why does Scott have a driver? He doesn't live that far. And it's like, well, he uses that time instead of driving. He uses his time to conduct business on the phone. I'm like, I could conduct business on the phone too.
well, on that note, I got a pager just before I left Malibu, and because I didn't have a phone in college, and I remember Roland, I had just started doing color designs for some of the books, and you called me. I was in a museum with a friend of mine in college, and the pager went off, and I was like completely disoriented. There was this thing buzzing in my pocket, and I thought somebody was attacking me, and I didn't know what it was. And it was you paging me, saying, "Hey, I got a freelance job for you."
That's funny.
But yeah, pagers. Wow, talk about old, right?
Boy, no kidding.
yeah, crazy time.
Oh, geez.
So, all right, since there's a lot of console stuff here, what about there's always the console war, right?
Yeah.
So go.
I was always a Sega. I like Sega. I was always. I mean, I thought Nintendo. I mean, I had nothing against them, but Sega just had more of like these really weird, especially the Dreamcast had so many weird games.
I don't know what Dreamcast even is.
It was the last console.
It was a
Sega did.
PlayStation before a PlayStation came out or something like that.
Yeah, it was like PlayStation. I think 2 came out, and the Sega Dreamcast was like the last console Sega did before they went out of the console business. But the games they put on it were so weird. I mean, they had one that you talk to a talking fish. The fish, it was
nuts.
yeah, and it was like you had a microphone, and it was a fish in a fish tank with a human head. Okay, like his face was human, and you could talk to the fish.
Wait,
and the fish
wait, Pete.
Hello.
Suddenly you have a different color. What are those things called there? The little orange thing. What near? Oh, yeah. I saw the green one earlier. So what's the difference between the green and the orange?
There's no, I don't know.
So
this one's just a bit stiffer, so it's got a nice ruler edge. These are flimsies. You can't really use them for a straight edge. But in terms of, this is a 35 degree, this orange one. The green one does 25, 35, 45, 60.
Wow.
It's small, and these are circle templates, and I've got others over there. Yeah.
Okay. I just saw the orange one come in. I'm like, wait. What happened to the green?
Orange one's got this nice. It's thick. and
Okay.
So I can use it as a ruler.
Okay.
Rather than
Gotcha.
getting a ruler out.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, I just remember they had, and my favorite game they had was Jet Set Radio, which was you played this. The whole thing was done in graffiti style, and you played like these rollerbladers that would like skate around, and you would tag stuff. They even had to have a disclaimer in front of the game that said, "Please don't tag, or graffiti is illegal." But in this game, you can graffiti stuff, and the cops would try to chase you down. It was the funnest game. I think in the second one, and later on, you could actually put some of your own images and tag them.
Really?
But just really weird ideas. But the games ended up being really fun, and that was probably, I think, why I liked Sega, because they come up with just such random weird ideas, and they'd work.
So like Grand Theft Auto before Grand Theft Auto?
Almost kind of, yeah. They actually did PlayStation 2 or 3. You can find a remastered Jet Set Radio on PlayStation. They put it on there. I don't know if it's still fun. I mean, I have the old one, but yeah, their ideas were just like what? And so, but a lot of them would just become highly addictive games, more than they should be. They had one where you played like these, what was it? These rattles, and it was like a rhythm game.
Oh yeah, Samba de Amigo.
Samba de Amigo, yeah, and you would
Samba de
actually have to
Amigo.
play like different, and that was really fun too. And it was, I don't know. So I was a Sega fan. I like Nintendo, but Nintendo, I liked Mario and stuff, but they stuck so close to their properties that I like Sega because they would just go all over the place with just completely random things. So I enjoyed them more.
Hyper Potato said Dreamcast was probably late 90s. My buddy had one too.
Yeah.
It was cool. Zippy said I never got into Dreamcast or Genesis. Late 90s maybe explains why I'm not really that familiar with them, I guess.
Yeah.
Tommy says ColecoVision.
Yeah.
I never had that one.
I have no idea what that is.
Don't worry, Pete. I can join you on some of this. I don't know what that is either.
I think
that was the third one. You had the Atari 2600 television, and then you had Coleco.
Oh,
and that was the one I didn't have because I had the Intellivision, I had the Atari, but you know, the graphics on the Coleco actually look better. But I never, you know, my parents never sprung for one, so I never played.
Huh?
Yeah. That was bad. Yeah, Mike, because I remember, like, I think a television was one a lot of my friends had. These Atari television. I didn't meet too many people meet ColecoVision, but I know it was up there. The same thing with, like, the TurboGrafx 16 during the Sega Genesis.
Oh,
that
I
was
remember
one.
that.
Yeah.
Zippy said
they had Fist of Fury on TurboGrafx, didn't they?
Yeah, that was SNK.
Yeah.
That was all their stuff.
Hyper said ColecoVision was the high-end console in the Atari age. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong, Zaxxon, and Smurfs. Zippy said, I waited so long to buy the first PlayStation that I heard the PS2 was coming out, so I got that one. And Hyper said, I love my Genesis. A girlfriend with a job, it's always good to have. A girlfriend with a job bought me one in high school. I later added the CD and 32X on closeout, probably from Baby Toys.
Oh, the Sega CD. I had one of those. What a ripoff. I saved up all this money, and they're like, it's going to be CD technology. And the clue that you have is when they gave it to you, they gave you all these weird discs. So like, here's some music you can play on it because it's a CD.
Yeah.
And here's all these other games, and no good games came out. So it was horrible.
It wasn't very good.
So do y'all remember? So I remember, going back to the old Commodore game, and even into the Mac games. And I'll tell you, it won't be a surprise. It probably won't surprise Curtis and Roberta, who got me into the Mac games. But I remember having to load them into the computer with a tape at first, and then the CD. You put the CD in, and you have to load it. You have to sit there and wait while the game loaded in. Right. And then when it was done, you took the CD out and you had to put another CD in that had some of the game files, and then you could actually play the game.
Yeah.
I had to do that with a couple Sierra games.
Game file version. Yeah.
What's that, Roberta?
That would take forever.
Yes, it would.
Well, the one about I miss this. I just miss when games didn't have updates, when they were shipped because they worked.
Yeah.
the cartridge was a plastic cartridge. If
Yeah.
it's a computer game, it was on a disc, and they had to have it working, or they didn't release it. And
Right.
I miss that so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, every time I turn on my system now, it's a 50-50 chance. Am I going to be able to play, or am I going to be just watching the update
So
screen?
does everybody have Steam here, or does everybody on
No.
Steam?
No.
What?
No.
No?
Unfortunately, my friends
No?
always tell me to get Steam. I know. I'm
Wow.
like, yeah. I
I'm-
think
I'm
it's maybe so I
thinking-
can.
But you know what? I guess this goes back to the whole console versus computer thing, though,
Yeah,
because Steam is,
I think it's the de facto.
all it is pretty much. If you want to play
Yeah.
games on computers, you pretty much have to have a Steam account. Not exclusive, but that's pretty much where all the games are now. And you were talking about the games not being finished. This is one of the things that I don't like about a lot of the games on Steam is that they're released in beta version. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'll pay the 10 extra bucks, for the beta version, because this is a game that it might surprise you to learn that I'm really into the American Civil War, right?
Oh yes.
So anything that comes out with the American Civil War related, I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that. And there's a new game out now. It's in beta called The Grand Tactician, which lets you play the entirety of the war, right? Making diplomatic and monetary and all kinds of decisions. It's kind of a real-time game, and I'm like, I'm all about that. You can build your order of battle, so you can move Lee over into Arkansas if you want him to campaign on the other side of the Mississippi, whatever. And so I paid the extra money for that. I haven't really had a chance to play it, but I paid the extra money for that. But it's still in beta, so it's buggy. They even say, oh, and so I went to watch the tutorials, right? Sorry, our tutorials are not available in beta. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know how to play the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that
Do like
doing
we
that
used
a
to do
lot.
back in the day. Just play.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting too is the art of game design has changed. I mean,
Yeah.
you folks probably remember back in the day, how do you play the game? You got a booklet, a piece of
Yeah.
composed of paper, and you had to read it like a manual. But now what's so interesting is to watch how game designers have factored in how to use the storytelling and coach you into it and have it a tutorial within the actual gameplay,
Yeah.
I think in that sense, it's kind of like how it relates to comics. It's like Roland was saying, sometimes you don't have to tell the backstory. You can just kind of tell it as you go. And I think that's what you see in game design now, which is really interesting.
It is. They don't even give it's so many levels. Like there was a Star Wars game, Squadrons. I think it just came out. I haven't played it. But again, there's so many games like that at a multiplayer that the single player component is more of a tutorial, how they teach you to play the game. And then the meat of the game is a multiplayer. I see that a lot. Where it's like, instead of a single player, it's like, well, that's more just like a training wheels and stuff. So yeah, it's sometimes I like that. If they keep going further and further, like if you're still doing tutorial stuff at like level 3 or 4, I'm like, okay, you guys need to just hurry up.
Talking about booklets there, Curtis.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I pulled out. I still have a whole bunch of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Colonization, Sid Meier's Colonization. Obviously, American Conquest is this one. Sid Meier's Gettysburg.
Oh.
Right? That's the whole. This is the game manual, right?
Yeah.
That's exhausting.
American Conquest, Divided Nation, right? Sid Meier's Antietam. Oh, you're all gonna like this one. You probably haven't heard of this one. Freedom Force.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Very Kirby-esque.
So yeah. Anyway, I just happen to know exactly where these were. So
It's funny. It used to be like now when I used to buy certain games, I worked at I think GameStop. I worked at GameStop for years ago. I worked at another store called Game Crazy. It was up here too. And but people would be like, well, no, if I'm going to buy a used game, it's got to have the console. Console, the booklet nice and the case nice. And I kind of understood. I got that way too. I'm like, look, if I'm going to pay money for this, I kind of want at least everything intact. But some people didn't care. And now with the advent of downloading, they don't even make booklets. So it's like, I only buy the a disc if I just want a backup hard copy. But I've actually found myself downloading games more than actually buying them on disc.
oh my goodness. So Zippy the Unicorn just sent me this. He said, "Did you hear about the Atari hotels they are planning for across the country? Has anybody heard about those?"
No.
Yeah. Go to AtariHotels.com. I'm like, what the heck? Atari Hotel's first ever video game themed hotel is coming.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Well, whatever you do, don't get the ET room. Don't go in that one.
Yeah, I know.
The first Atari Hotel is planning to break
Pac-Man room.
ground this spring in Phoenix, Arizona, immediately followed by Austin, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Las Vegas, San Francisco, San Jose, and Seattle. So basically nothing in the East.
Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, Austin, Texas is,
No.
well, maybe Chicago is the closest it gets to us. I had not heard of that. That's very interesting.
That is kind of cool. There was a huge, I think it's probably gone. There was a huge arcade in Seattle, Washington that had stuff like apparently people can sit in chairs and shoot at the screen. I don't know if it was Gallagher or something, but whoever's getting the higher score, like the chairs would rise up in the air. And so whoever get the score, like it would rise higher or something. I never went to this place, but I saw pictures of it and stuff. And
like the
apparently it's
little
supposed
squirting
I
thing
think it was owned by Sega. I think it closed down years ago. I don't think it's around anymore.
Wow.
But it was like this, like the premium arcade where they had these huge machines built into the place that was just for them.
You know, if you go to the movies now, which unfortunately Regal we had been going to the movies since they reopened, but Regal just shut down. If you go, they often will have a little game. You have to download the app, right?
Yeah,
you download the app, and then you point your phone. I started to say camera. Point your phone towards the screen, and you play some kind of game. You know, you shoot aliens or something like that. But
yeah,
cool.
It's I never did download the app for that, but I always looked around to see if I always looked to see if anyone was playing, and I don't know if I ever saw anyone playing or not.
Hyper Potato said about the Atari hotels. Maybe that will lead to a revival of Atari Force.
Yeah,
y'all remember the comic Atari
That was
Force?
a great book. That was such a cool book.
Yeah,
True story. True story. When I went out to the DC offices, this last San Diego Con, which I guess was 3 years ago now, I got to go to the DC Vault, right?
Nice.
Which is very, very cool.
What does it look like? I mean, does it look like Indiana Jones at the end with the
no,
like the big?
No, it looks like a great big walk-in closet.
Uh-huh.
I mean, a huge, but it literally has this big, thick vault door around, you know, in front. They have to open the right. So apparently, it's fireproof, earthquake proof, and all this other kind of stuff because it's there in Burbank. But that's where I told you I got to see the Detective Comics. I got to hold it. I couldn't touch it with my oily fingers, but I got to hold it, you know, and the first Superman and stuff like that. So
cool.
I got to see and hold those, which is very cool. On our way out, though, he said, "Hey, you want some free comics from the vault?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
Do I get to pick one?
Yeah.
Well, they apparently had this huge box when they moved from New York to Burbank. They found a bunch of comics they didn't realize that they had, and most of them were from the 80s and 90s. You know, a lot of. So I got an Atari Force.
That's a really good book. That was a really beautifully illustrated book.
Yeah, it really was. I remember as a kid. Everything was
Who did
very
that?
multicolored,
Jose
like brightly
Garcia.
colored.
Lopez. Okay.
Yeah, Lopez. Yeah, he did all
Okay.
the illustrations for it. So I mean,
Wow. I don't guess I realized that. Zippy says that the Hyper Potato is quite obsessed with Atari Force, and Hyper says, "May the Atari Force be with you, my friend." Share screen to show the site. The building would look so cool in person. Yeah, I'm not sure I know how to do that. He might have missed the part where I said my son was gone early. And I'm not sure. Let me try it, I guess. I think I'd kick Roberta off. Then Berta, you just kick me back off.
That's fine.
Hold on. Let me see if I can figure it out. Share screen.
I remember the Atari Force, like the book I had. It was almost like this small digest book. It wasn't a full size comic.
I remember that.
You guys were
that too.
That's the version I had.
So can y'all see that now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So yeah, that's the Atari Hotel.
That's crazy.
Do you get a free computer if you check in?
You get a free Atari.
Yeah,
I would love to have a freaking Atari 2600 again.
I hope
Yeah,
all the decor has that fake wood paneling like the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
yeah, little stickers.
Panel board,
Yeah, kill it all.
panel board, and shag carpet.
All right, Roberta, start sharing again.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, so I think that'd be cool.
I'm glad Atari's trying. I'm glad Atari's still around. I know they every once in a while you'll get games like
They still
Oh,
make
made by
games, I
Atari?
think, don't they?
what?
I think they still make games, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Sega
Yeah.
still does, even though Sega's a shadow of its former self, but they still
Do
do.
you folks remember the Paperboy video game that Atari put out? Where-
Yes,
So-
I used to throw
so-
and hit the dog all the time.
So we used to work with Paperboy. The guy that was in the Malibu Comics video game department is named Scott Sava. He recently released this movie called Animal Crackers. His dad worked for Atari, and they rotoscoped him, and he was the kid on the bicycle.
He was the kid on the bike?
He was
I
Paperboy.
didn't know that.
He was-
That's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
I didn't know that
Love
either.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of no, you said somebody else. I'm thinking who was the guy? Who was Darren's kind of partner
Doan?
there with Darren Doan.
Ken Dario.
Ken Dario. Yeah, you know what Ken's done, right?
He did Despicable Me, right? I think.
Yeah, he's the guy who co-wrote Despicable Me.
Yeah.
So all those goofy little minions go back to Ken Dario.
Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
I just remember Paperboy getting extremely hard towards the end. Like the inevitable, it's like the whole neighborhood was out to kill you within like a few minutes.
Yeah.
Do you folks remember Tapper? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Tapper.
Tapper was this game where you served beer to people.
Yeah.
And it was like you had this long like a counter, and you had to slide the beer to the customer.
Yeah.
And then people got outraged that they were teaching kids how to serve alcohol, so they changed it to root beer. It became root beer Tapper.
Oh no!
It was like brown instead of amber, so it was root beer that you were swinging at people.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's weird.
So does anyone
Y'all
remember? Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, I remember the Top Gun game for the original Nintendo.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
The refueling I could never get. The refueling was hard.
Yeah.
I still remember playing Mortal Kombat. I remember playing Mortal Kombat.
Mhm.
Was it 1? And there's Fred Meyers. You had a Fred Meyers, which is basically owned by Kroger. So if you guys have Kroger, same concept. And they had all these arcades. I remember I knew one fatality performed it and had 2 or 3 people around me. And boy, the people, when I did that, I mean, you watch them now, the fatalities are so tame. It's compared to what they do now. But I remember people just like, oh my God, that's just offensive. Which as a teenager, you're like, yes, I swear I'm offending people in public.
Do it again. Do it again.
Do it again. Yeah, you'd have some kids to do it again. But yeah, I remember when they put blood in video games, that was and then Doom. Doom's still one of my all-time favorite games.
Yeah.
I was playing Doom 64 a while ago, but still, blood in games, that was a huge.
Killer Instinct.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
That arcade game with the ultra, I mean, every time they had that in an arcade, that's like the only arcade cabinet you heard was the Killer Instinct
so loud.
Ultra. It was so loud.
The bass was like,
Yeah.
You're saying Mortal Kombat. One of the 2 creators, John Tobias. I met him in Chicago once. He actually was going to hire me on a project he did for the Xbox called Tao Feng. It was like this fighting game, and I didn't know I was going to meet the creator of Mortal Kombat. I just was flown out there. And I was told somebody from the company was going to pick me up in the morning. Then I get a call in the morning, and the guy goes, "It's John Tobias. I'm here to pick you up." And I said, "Holy cow, that's the guy who created Mortal Kombat."
Yeah.
So I went down. He was the nicest guy in the world. He took me out for Chicago deep dish pizza, but I really didn't want to move to Chicago. So I think was trying to botch the interview towards the end, and I actually succeeded because of it. So at the end of the interview, they said, "We like your work. We want to move you out here." They go, "Do you have any kids, wife or kid?" He said, "Do you have any kids?" And I said, "None that I know of." And there was just dead silence in this boardroom with the creator of Mortal Kombat and all his artists. And then they all started busting up laughing and high-fiving me. They said, "You are so hired. We so like you." And they offered me the job. But I decided not to move to Chicago. But it was
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. But that was one of the things. I still remember that.
That is funny. I was thinking about that blood, and I remember I think it was the late 90s. There was a computer game that came out called Myth, and it was like kind of a role playing type game. You had a whole team of warriors, and it was really far away, and they were really tiny, but you could chop their heads off, and their head would bounce. With they had like texture mapping on pretty much all of the terrain, so the head would roll around the mountains, and that was just hysterical.
It was. I remember so many parents getting. I had my friend in high school. We had Mortal Kombat 2, and we were playing, and his dad got home, and he turned to me. He's like, "Okay, if my dad comes in, this is your game, and I'm borrowing it." Or like he brought it over. Like it was like, "I'm not taking." I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I was like, "Whatever, I'll get in trouble for you." But yeah, he was like, "We can't have this." But yeah, it was a huge deal. The one about rolling the heads around, that sounds hilarious.
It is so funny.
Yeah.
Just for that alone, I got into it.
Does anybody remember the game Elevator Action?
Yes,
God, yeah,
I love
that was
that game.
great.
That game was
so
hard.
fun.
It was hard, really hard, and I
But
think
it was-
that's why I was so addicted to it. It's like, I remember you start the game, you come in on a cable, right?
Yeah.
That first floor, and then you got to fight your way down. And I never could do it.
Well,
think
it's funny because those arcade games, you start to realize that they were made just for quarters. There's some of those games where there was no way, no matter how good you were, that you could get through it. It was just about feeding the machine.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and now I don't know how long it's been since you've been to an arcade. We got a game opened up, kind of a game thing themed. They'll feed you, and there's some danger rooms and or escape rooms and like a little bitty mini bowling alley and stuff like that here in our local mall. And we went and played. My son and I went and we were playing something, and we noticed that we went through this first thing, and then it said to continue, put in another 50 cents, and I'm like, no, I didn't lose yet. I haven't lost. You don't ask me for more money until I lose.
So it literally just cut you off at a certain point, no matter how well you did.
Yes, it was a kind of a timed thing. And it's like so it didn't cut you off, but it gave you a little countdown clock. If you to continue, feed more. And I'm like, no, I ain't feeding you anything more. I ain't dead yet.
Yeah,
I ain't
definitely.
dead yet.
Yeah, that would irritate me. I don't think I've ever seen that in a game, but I can imagine somebody doing it.
And they're like 50 cents now. So
Yeah, they're like 50 cents to $1. I'm like,
yeah.
Used to be like, what happened to a quarter?
And in my day when they were only a penny.
I know.
We gotta talk about hard games.
Video game when I was really, when I was a really young kid. Sorry, it's old, but in the arcade, we had the $1 game that showed up. It was, I think, Dragon Quest or something. It was Dirk the Daring. And I would die over and over and put my goddamn dollar in there. I was so angry.
Oh yeah, that game. And the funny Dragon's Lair came home. Yeah, they made a home console version. It's still hard. Take out the money. That game's it's crazy. You have to know exactly what to do at the right time, at the right moment to do it. It looked great though.
Hard. It was so cool because it was a cartoon, and the graphics were so much better.
They're talking about remastering that game, actually.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That was Don Bluth, right? I think Don Bluth was the
Really? Don Bluth.
Yeah, and I just heard recently he's starting up a new 2D animation studio. He said, "Okay, we're going to bring 2D animation back." So
wow,
cool. Well, he did. And the thing is it was 2 years ago he did a Kickstarter to make an animated version of Dragon's Lair. And then the Kickstarter was successful, and then I never heard much more of it. And so I was talking to my friend. She's like, "I wonder if the 2D animation studios to finish that Kickstarter project. I hope. I would love to see a Dragon's Lair. I hope he does it before. The guy's old, so hurry up, Don. They got so many more years left to finish it."
Ouch.
Y'all remember the old Ninja Turtle games on the Ninja Turtle game on the NES? That Joker got hard.
I never could finish it. I had people who could finish, would beat it or whatever. But I remember I always liked the arcade ones, either the
Turtles in Time,
stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't remember them on the consoles. I remember the Turtles in the arcades though, where you could have four
for the
players.
NES.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Those were fun. Yeah. Hyper Potato Says I remember that name. I think you must be talking about Don Bluth. So what else did Don Bluth do? So to jog Hyper's
he did Secret of Nim, The Land Before Time, The Pebble and the Penguin. He did Titan AE. And then what was Anastasia was the other big one that kind of brought him back on the map. Then he did Titan AE. and then he kind of faded away again. So he came back after years of like he made stuff, and then he didn't have many hits, and then he had Anastasia, and that was a huge hit. Then he made Tanae, didn't do well, and then he kind of went in obscurity again. So it was kind of like one comeback, and then he left. I felt bad for the guy, but yeah, I remember that.
He was, of course, for those that don't know, he was Disney before he was one of Disney's top.
Yeah.
Not just animated. Was he a director at Disney as well?
He was big in there. He split up his own company to do his own thing, and I always enjoyed his stuff more because it seemed to have more of an edge to it for a kid show. I mean, even watch A Secret of Nim. I mean, at the end, he's like showing blood. They're like stabbing each other with swords and
dark.
Yeah,
dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zippy said Ryan Reynolds is going to be Dirk in the Dragon's Lair movie.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's
perfect.
Right on.
Yeah.
Not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I can guarantee I won't see that.
Yeah, have you guys ever watch any of the Wednesday shows? You watch some of their Wednesday Wham guys?
I missed this one, but I do watch them. Yeah.
It's just funny. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, in here, John say I don't know how I feel about that. They've got this whole Nicolas Cage thing going on over there.
It's like a moratorium on casting him and putting him on things,
Which is it's kind of funny.
Does anybody recall, and because I'm just trying to jog my memory, that there was a video game for the rock group Journey? Does anybody remember that? There was like a really, I remember seeing that there was some weird video game a long time ago.
Hopefully it wasn't called Love and Touch and Squeezing.
There was one for I'm gonna say it was Aerosmith.
What?
It was this arcade game that you could like throw CDs at things. Does this sound familiar?
What?
And I don't know if it was Aerosmith, but yeah, you would like throw CDs at like Ninja Stars at stuff. And I think it was Aerosmith, but I'm not.
What the heck?
I don't know. I remember it was just really obscure. I remember walking by it going like, what? What is I never played it, but I remember, and I think you actually had to save the bands up, like the members of Aerosmith, like they were in, and you was trying to save from a concert. I mean, I played Michael
Speaking
Jackson.
of cocaine, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you snort all of it before Aerosmith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you snort this cocaine? So where I first saw who my very first introduction to Aerosmith was. Did any of you see the Bee Gees Sgt. Pepper movie in the late 70s?
Yeah.
Mike, you remember that?
I do remember it. Yes, I watched it quite a bit on HBO growing up. Yeah.
Do you remember who the villain band was?
Oh gosh.
It was Aerosmith.
Was it really?
Yes, the villain band was Aerosmith.
Wow.
And I remember I'm like, I like that song a whole lot better than the other stuff, right? Because it was the Bee Gees. Bee Gees doing all this Beatles stuff. And Aerosmith is the one that did Come Together, right?
Okay.
So that was my introduction to Aerosmith. That's kind of an interesting little segue there. But
I remember used to playing the Michael Jackson arcade games where he would turn into a robot. And you would save kids, and the kids would be like, "Thanks, Michael," and and you would have the dance off, where he would dance, and they'd all dance, and they'd all die. It was kind of sad and depressing. It's like, okay, I'm going to entertain you for 2 seconds, then I'm going to kill you all. I was like, yeah, that was Moonwalker. That was it actually was a really fun game. That one, and there was a Ghostbusters game. That was a 4-player one in the arcade. That was really fun.
We've been talking about video games it's 10:37. We've been talking about video games now for 1 hour and 37 minutes or close to it.
Yeah, I don't even think we've gotten to modern video games yet.
Well, no one has mentioned Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man.
Oh, I love Miss Pac-Man. My mom even.
I'm just I figured that. Well, I haven't said anything because I kept saying, well, somebody's going to mention it. Somebody's going to bring it up. Nobody's talking about Pac-Man. What the heck?
They made like a 3D one where I remember there was it for the PlayStation where there was a version where you can jump over the walls.
Oh, really?
Like you can I don't remember, but it was like they added some little like bit where you can go through the maze, but certain place you can jump over the walls and stuff. I'm like, oh, that was cool.
I never really got into Pac-Man for some reason.
Yeah, you know what? I played it a lot with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. Because the pizza place that we would go to had one of those sit-down versions, right? So we would sit down, we'd get our pizza, we'd sit down, and we would play Pac-Man on the table, right? And we'd, because you could have your drink and your pizza, and you could look at the table, and if you spilled something, you could wipe it up, and you wouldn't ruin the game.
Yeah.
We played a lot of Pac-Man that way.
Those tabletops, they were fun. They I'm not sure if they have Pac-Man, but they, like I said, they have arcades in Portland. That's where they combine them basically with kind of like bars, like pizza. You can get beer. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like come play video games, drink beer, and but they had this one that was like this huge wall. I mean, the wall must have been like 15 feet, 10 feet. And I remember you playing Galaga, but I think you could play Pac-Man. And it was like, I mean, it's just ginormous. I mean, to the point where I'm like, I can't even see what I'm doing because it's so big.
Yeah.
But it was fun to watch other people do it. But they had multiple. I think Pac-Man was one of them. I think they had Galaga on there too, and that was really cool.
Zippy said Moonwalker was the Michael Jackson game.
Yeah.
That was a cool game.
Oh, Hyper Potato's trying to get me singing now. Says Roland has Pac-Man fever, driving him crazy.
I remember watching
forgot about that.
The cartoon of Pac-Man.
Yeah,
which was really weird. Because when you think about it, I remember like I watched every once on YouTube. I'll go back and look at Saturday morning cartoons, and that it really is about drugs a little bit. I mean, he was really obsessed with his power pellets, and he would go around again. I'm like, he's a drug addict. This is maybe that's what the ghosts were trying to do. Maybe they were trying to do an intervention for this whole time, and he just kept beating them.
So the ghosts are actually the good guys.
The good guys are trying to do an intervention to save him.
Yeah, you talked about intervention, and Mike picks up this great old big mug over there. Drinking some of that ale 8 there.
Oh no, not quite.
Mike introduced us to this last time we were up at Pikeville Comic Con. Mike introduced us to this Kentucky drink called Ale 8.
Ale 8. Actually, what's called Ale 8-1.
Oh, okay.
That's like a late one. You're supposed to. It's heavily caffeinated. You know, it's popular with college kids, and it'll keep you up all night. I mean, like super concentrated. I mean, but it's the, you there are two camps. Either you love it or you hate it with a passion, and you don't veer off. It's one or the other. And I think it's swill. I mean, I think it's absolute. It's awesome.
Really,
yeah.
But there are people that just absolutely swear by it. They love it.
He bought this big, I don't know, 12-pack or something. He brought it in and he goes, okay, guys, you can't leave Kentucky until you've tried one of these. And so it's like, I think me and Barry and Tommy was there, and Jeff Whiting we're all taking. I'm like, oh man, this is nasty. And I think Jeff Whiting, is the one who liked it. I think he's like, oh, it's not too bad. It's pretty good. I'm like, oh, here you have mine.
So just curiosity, what is everyone still playing games? Like, what are you guys playing currently? Because we've talked about old games, but
yeah,
so we've totally skipped over new stuff.
Well, here's my question for you. Do we want to wait and save that until next week?
Yeah, we could do that.
We'll talk about the games we're playing currently, because I think I can talk some about that. Might get all of you interested in what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'd say let's save the games we're playing now until next week. Pete's like, okay, I'll just draw.
I know Pete's like, yeah.
So all right, so Pete, what the people around you? Do the people around you play games?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Literally everyone I know plays computer games except for me.
Interesting. So do you have is there a desire to play but just a lack of time, or not really a desire? Or
yeah, I think the desire's passed me by now. I don't have time.
Yeah,
I think it would just eat into what I actually want to do.
Yes.
Well,
it can do that.
Games I would like to play. Like, I really love Star Wars and things like that. And when I see new Star Wars games coming out, or new Avengers games and X-Men games, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really love to play that. That looks, because that's what I'm actually interested in. But I'd have to go and buy a £500 computer and then a £70 game, and I'm like, I go into the computer shops and like, oh, they're very expensive, aren't they? How do you keep buying one after another? You just So I was like, no, so I'll leave it.
Well, that's kind of sad, Peter. That new Star Wars Squadron game looks really awesome.
Yeah. I remember buying one years ago. I bought a PlayStation 2 because I wanted to play this new X-Men game that had come out, or Avengers, whatever it was. Thought, I'll play that. I must have played for like 3 hours, and it's sat in a box ever since.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh well, computer games aren't my thing.
Yeah.
No, you're not the only one. I have a friend Tom who's really into comics and stuff, and he plays MAME, like old computer games and old Sega, but like new games and stuff, he doesn't care about them. So I talked to him about it, and he's like, "Oh, I get to hear all about it from you." So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Well, you know, the games you're talking about, the X-Men, the Avengers, I'll tell you, we had that for the PlayStation 2. And I'll tell you what I liked about those so much. I didn't love those games as far as games would go, but what I liked about them is they came out when my kids were younger.
Mm.
And it was the kind of game that we literally sat down and all four of us played the game.
Yeah, multiplayer stuff on it.
Yes, and we were all there on the same screen. We're all doing the same thing. My wife, BJ, she played. She always wanted to be Wolverine or some kind of beaten up thing, right? I always like to be someone who could throw something. So I was like Captain America or Thor throwing the hammer. So that's where Brett was introduced to Deadpool. He was introduced to Deadpool through those games. So, but we had fun because that was something we all sat down as a family to play, and we're all right there playing. So,
yeah, those are fun. I remember the quizzes. I think they used to put quizzes and I used to always ace those, especially the X-Men ones. And I was like, wow, I really am a nerd.
Yeah.
But, those were fun. I think my favorite superhero games now probably the Arkham series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, and we'll next week too, we'll talk about kind of the direction that the games have taken because I know part of what we teach at the school at Full Sail is there's a lot of storytelling now behind games where a lot of games that we've been talking about, you literally turn it on and then you start doing stuff. You just go do stuff, and a lot of the games now are very story driven. They have these animations. You have to sit and make some decisions in the story and watch some stuff happen, and they're very story driven. Where mostly, everything we talked about earlier have mostly been not.
Have you guys ever watched the videos where they show like young kids, like they give them Pac-Man or the old games and the kids comment? Those are pretty entertaining.
I love to see those kids react to this,
Yeah.
I watched one kids react. Led Zeppelin's one of my all-time favorite bands. And I love to watch kids react to Led Zeppelin. I think I've heard this song before.
Yeah. It sounds familiar, whatever.
Yeah.
The funniest one is they had one where they would do VR, but they put horror because horror games in VR are like 100 times scarier. And they do it to kids like older people, and the older people would always be like, "What am I doing? Is this gonna?" So they're always real trepidation.
Have you seen the old people react to Grand Theft Auto? And it's great. You just see them playing the game and they're following all the traffic laws, and then you start to see the moment it goes sideways, one of them realizes they can run a red light. And then it just starts going crazy from there. There's, I can shoot people, I can do this, and you just see it descend into debauchery,
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. I just wonder what it's going to be for our generation and younger generation when we go into retirement homes. You're going to have a bunch of senior citizens playing video games, having LAN parties, I mean, like my dad said to me, he goes, "So you're still playing that stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't plan on stopping."
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and it's funny because Brett, I'm not near as because Brett gets really into a lot of the stuff, and I enjoy games, but there's just so many of them, and it's kind of like my music. I talked about music before. My interest is very narrow. It's not really broad, so I kind of like I like these kind of these historical things, and not about race cars and the Mario Kart and all that stuff. I'm like, I get it, but I don't find myself interested in those at all.
Mario Kart's fun to play with the kids.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of those
just so you can shoot him with the blue shell and laugh as you pass him.
Man, the blue shell.
Well, and that's kind of why I like the Marvel game that Pete was talking about earlier, because we all got to play as a family, and we played one called Worms.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
I've
remember
never played it, but I
Worms.
know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you build your little fortresses and you shoot the others trying to.
I did
go-
enjoy Worms. I remember that.
Oh, really?
I did enjoy Worms.
Oh,
Well, that's going back a lot now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I really enjoyed that.
It was all, I think, physics based trajectory. You'd have to like
Yeah.
how it would actually, because I think they would bounce and stuff, and so you're
Yeah.
able to.
Which is
I may have
because
played
you
it
had
a
like
little bit.
you had like 3 or 4 that you controlled, so you could
Yeah.
only move them. So every turn you could only move one of them, and then your goal was to destroy the others. And yeah, my kids were really good at it.
There was one of I think one of the funnest games me and my friends, because we would always, when we were in high school, you could rent video games.
Yeah.
From local video, we rented Micro Machines. I don't know if you guys ever played Micro Machines.
Mhm.
Sounds
I
really like
remember them.
cheesy. Oh man, the game, whoever designed the concept of the game was you're all driving your little cars on the screen at once. And the idea is not so much to win, but to knock your friends out of the screen. So you want, like, you could trap them behind the Cheerio, and then you would drive further in the screen and they would go out and you'd win a point. And they'd have them on like pool tables and stuff. And we'd sit there and find like devious ways to trap each other, knock each other off the pool table. It's the most addicting game. Micro Machines. We loved it. We rented it all the time.
That's funny. That's funny. All right. Well, I guess let's kind of it's 10 till, so let's kind of wind this down. Roberta, what have we been watching new color here?
This is the last page that I am going to work on for the book
Forever.
Pendulum. It's a recolor.
Wait, hold on. The
black and
last
white
page?
color. Yeah,
What-
last page. I have turned in everything else today.
So you're saying you have no more pendulum pages?
No, I have a third book coming out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, when you said the last page, you scared me a little bit.
No, book 2 is complete after this.
Mm.
When I
Woohoo!
finalize it.
Wow. Nice.
So I'm happy to have the second one completely in the bag, and it's really, really a fun journey, this one.
Good. Yeah, it looks
Very-
fantastic.
Angsty story. It's really great.
Yeah. Yeah. So so here's a question for you. Do you find yourself, are you reading it kind of as you go along? And
No, I read it way before I started.
oh, really?
So I could have an idea of what was gonna happen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that kind of helped me
Oh.
decide how to color everyone and
Yeah.
what they're gonna be like, and the settings and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, as this was one of the books published by Malibu many years ago. Did you have a recollection of it at all, or was this
I
one of the?
remember the name.
Oh, really? Okay.
That didn't help me know
Yeah.
anything about it though.
Yeah.
I was really surprised when I read it. I'm like, I don't think I ever read it. I definitely didn't read it.
Yeah.
So I was sad that I didn't read it because I was thinking I remembered the name, but I guess not because I read it.
Yeah. And Pete, what have we been watching you draw today?
This is page 16 of Champion and what we call Champion and Miss Fury.
Yeah.
Um,
He looks like he is decked out with all kinds of
geared up.
bandoliers and pouches, and hey, we should take a snapshot of this and send it to Rob.
Let me see it.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see the any of you watch Rob's Twitter feed at all?
Here and there.
Rob Liefeld. Did you see where he posted a shot from Planet of the Apes?
Oh,
where
couldn't
Did
do the feet. Yeah.
he said this photographer has a problems with feet.
Can't find
It was great. It was fantastic. Guy's got a great sense of humor.
Well, at least he takes it in stride, considering how much stuff. I mean, you can give him all the crap you want, but he's made it. I mean, he's
Yeah.
really successful. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I as it probably doesn't surprise you guys probably hear it a lot too. But my argument is when people start tossing some negativity his direction, I'm like, you can talk about it all you want, but the thing about it is he's got something that fans like.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, there's something in his work that makes fans throw money at it, and so you can sit there on your high horse and say he can't draw feet all you want, when fans are like, I love this is great, here's more money, so
and he has improved. I mean, he has improved since those days, and I'll say from personal experience and everything I've seen, he knows how to treat his fans. He doesn't forget where they come from.
Yeah.
And I know Pete and I talked about the podcast, and when you hear about his life story, if you listen to the other episodes, and you find out that his dad was in the hospital and with a brain tumor and all this stuff, and he rose to the occasion to support his family using his comic book skills. I mean, how can you not appreciate the guy at least for that?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I've met him on multiple occasions. And the last time I saw him was a few years ago, and I wasn't sure he would remember me from the Malibu days. And I walked up to him. This is at one of those conventions that nobody attended. And so, those are kind of fun from a creator aspect, because you can walk around and talk to people that you don't normally get a chance to talk to, to.
Yeah.
But obviously they're bad for a business perspective, because there's nobody there, so you don't sell anything. But he was there, and I walked up to him and said something to him. I said, I don't know if you remember me or not. He goes, of course I remember you, back from Malibu. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, he has never been anything but, and I've never seen him be anything but nice to people. I've never, and I can't say that about a lot of creators. I've seen some creators go off on fans and stuff like that. I've never seen Rob go off on any fan, anybody else. I've never seen that. Again, we're not best buds, so I don't hang out with him, but I haven't seen that happen. And so, talk about his art all you want, but I can't, people who are throwing shade in his direction, I think are just, jealous or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, to each their own for his art style. I mean, you can like it or not like. I mean, there's many artists who people
he's very much
masters. Yeah.
I mean, he's very much that 90s, late 80s, 90s, West Coast, Art Adams inspired generation of artists that Jim Lee and Silvestri and all those guys are part of. So, all right, let me see. I think I can actually share my screen now, and I think I have figured this out. So I couldn't do this earlier, but there's the merch of the week.
Oh,
I guess you're seeing my whole background here, all my tabs open. Yeah, there's the license plate, the frame that you can see, silverlinecomics.com, make mine Silverline on it. This would look sweet on your vehicle. So there's where you get it, zazzle.com/s/silverline plus comics. So be sure to pop on over there and get one of those for your vehicle. And when you do that, please send us a picture so we can promote it. So so let's call this a night. Let's go around the horn here and tell folks where you can find them. Curtis, we'll start with you. Wait a minute, hold on. I gotta fix my window so people can see us. We're still showing Pete's 90s inspired chant there. How about that? Okay. Curtis, tell folks where they can find you.
Sure, I'm Curtis Fujita. You can find me on Facebook under my name, Curtis Fujita. You can also find me on Instagram and YouTube through my martial arts school, which is Tiger Crane Kung Fu. You can look up just the word Tiger Crane 805. So that's where you can find me.
Sweet. John, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
All over it, somewhere, form or fashion. I'll pop up in random streams and say something and then vanish into the night. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Patreon. Some version of John Martin Art, John Vampire Martin, John Vampire Art, something like that. It's all listed under here somewhere, I think.
Yeah, and as I was gonna say, as a reminder, I'll make sure I put it below. It's not there yet because I had problems getting it all in before we started the stream, but I will go back in and add that. Very cool. And a couple of shout outs before we move on to Aaron. Shout out to Hyper Potato. Appreciate you joining us and becoming one of our first moderators, and the same for Zippy the Unicorn. Appreciate all the feedback and comments tonight. Dustin, appreciate it. Dustin has a final comment here about Rob. Says he feels like fans I feel like fans do understand how creators have to deal with a lot of people when they blow up. They're still people. He says don't understand. I feel like fans don't understand how creators have to deal with a lot of people when they blow up. They're still people. And I see that. Yeah. But even still, I never seen Rob do that. So Dustin also says goodnight. Hyper Potato says goodnight. Aaron, what about you? Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You find me on Facebook under my name, Aaron Humphreys, which is on there. Humphreys Illustration. And I think everybody can see my last name. It's HUMPHRES. Instagram at AOH3810. And then I do post my comic on Webtoons, Godlings. Just look up Godlings, you'll find it. Yeah, I think that's it right now.
Okay.
I stay off the Twitter.
Yeah.
The Twitter scares me, so I stay a healthy distance away.
I am probably going to avoid most social media for the next 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Just let's just let this next 30 days kind of get by us, and then maybe rejoin the.
I'm just going to post more art the next 30 days.
Pete, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Very simply, it's Peter Clinton Art, and that's Instagram, Twitter. Just Google it; it comes up. Yeah. And my commission list is open. So
I was going to ask you, is your commission list still open?
Yeah, Christmas is coming, isn't it? So get those orders in. I'll ship all over the world as long as you pay for the postage.
Yep, cool. So and that's kind of a double doozy there, right? They can get a commission from you and get a Christmas present that they can give away to someone.
Yeah, that's right.
And
anyone you like.
Helps you then get a little extra cash so you can buy some Christmas presents.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. My missus wants £1,000 shoes. So
woohoo!
He's not
That's some heavy shoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's walking
That's
on gold.
Really
there,
heavy shoes.
Yeah, she thinks comics pays a lot more than it does.
Oh shoot! Stephen Butler sent me. Stephen Butler's a good friend of mine. He sent me this thing the other day about working in comics, and it's kind of depressing when you look at it. But I'm like, I would probably share this around a little bit. But it's one of those things that you kind of have to make sure you like doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're in comics to get rich, someone probably sold you a bill of goods somewhere along the lines.
30 years too late or 20 years too late.
Yeah, that's right. Roberta, what about you? Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, well, you can look me up under either Roby Conroy or Roberta Conroy on Instagram and Facebook. And I have a website under robyconroy.com, so check that out too.
Okay, I don't think I have some of those, so do me a favor, send me a message with all of those links, and I'll get those added to the master list. Mike, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find just the personal stuff, Mike W. Belcher, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to check out Man the Mask, you can check it out at amkcomics.com. I've got, if you're in the Halloween mood, I've got Halloween stories abound the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say now, I've seen you posted about it. Is that ready, or is that something you're still working on?
Well, I've got last year's year available. And then I've got the new one will be finished this week.
Okay.
And I'm very happy and will never draw another pumpkin the rest of my life.
Don't say that. You've been doing this long enough to say you're not supposed to say I'll never.
Well, probably never. How about that? By choice. Now, if somebody wants me to draw a pumpkin, I'll draw a pumpkin.
Because
he'll have a digital brush that draws it for him next time.
Halloween comes around once a year, so next year's going to come up and people are going to say, Mike, we really loved your Halloween stories. And then you're going to say, I said I'd never draw those.
Hey, the third one's already planning, and I'm making sure the pumpkins will not return. Yeah, the pumpkins will not return.
Okay, Charlie Brown. Okay, and I'm Roland. You can find me at on Facebook, Roland Man. You can find me Twitter, Man Roland, and every place else that has social media. Excuse me. I'm most active probably on Facebook, but I try to show up on all those other places as well, mostly to talk about all the cool comic stuff that we're doing here with Silverline. And remember, until next time. Hold on! I gotta plug Wednesday. Don't forget Wednesday. They're gonna be back, and the Wednesday Wham team will be back talking about the second part of video games, and we'll come back next week, also talk about video games, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that we're playing today. And we never really got around to talking about our favorites, so we'll talk about that next week as well. So until then, remember, okay, I got to show this and push the button. I'm not sure how I can do this. Remember, next time, all right, make mine Silverline. All right.